Good morning, welcome to the Hobby Breakfast Show podcast.
IRL.
That was a weird way of introducing it. Yeah, we're all in the same room. It's one of those ones. We're all drinking. I don't know what that
Not
says.
as a coping mechanism.
I don't know what that says about...
when we're in person, we need the social lubricant.
I'm joined as always by OT.
Hello.
Bear.
Hello.
And then it is me, Onod. We're going to be doing the... I would say long-awaited, but I don't think anyone is really waiting for it.
Yeah.
It's basically going to be our review of what it was like playing the Scouring of the Shire all the way through. Mistakes that we made, things that we liked, things that we didn't, things that we would perhaps improve on, ways that we think going forward is the best way to play a Middle-earth narrative campaign. Because I think weirdly, probably most of our viewers won't have ever played a full one.
No.
It's the first time that we played a full campaign, and we've
learned some stuff.
We've learned what to do and what not to. I think for next time, which will be, I think, a few months off.
I don't imagine many people will have played campaigns at all, right?
No, I can imagine a few people have tried to do quest, but I can also imagine quite a few people fizzled out when they realised how many models were needed.
You do need a shitload of models for that.
Yeah. And obviously there are going to be groups who only do the narrative campaigns, but then they won't do as much tournaments as we've done, so then they'll have a very different perspective on it as well. So anyway, that's what we're going to do. We're going to very quickly though talk about hobby. OT, do you want to start us off?
I did some fucking hobby. I painted. Have I painted any Legion? I'm going to go with no. What I have painted though is a crap load of 6mm little Anglo-Saxon dudes. I think it was 70 bases in all I ended up doing.
Each with how many minis?
Well, 4 in inverted commas. Or
minis being the key word there.
They're at 6mm scale, so
each one's like a grain of rice.
Yeah. But they're nice to do. Unfortunately, I did have 48 bases of the same type, which, even though they're quite quick to paint, was a bit repetitive.
Only because you chose to paint them all the same.
Yeah, but the other option was I dry brushed them in a slightly different colour and then did the same painting over the top.
Well, as we found, 24 of them are actually different in the rules.
Which we didn't play.
now that you've realised that, it makes them different to tell apart.
But they do look very cool on the board, and I think a reflection I had was if Watcher had been at 6mm, I think it would have had a bit more longevity. But
I think you could quite easily do 6mm Watcher, because at that scale, an elf and a human, there's no difference. So you can just use historical ranges, and there are 6mm orcs out there.
Would you just use line rampant rules?
You could just use Watcher rules, right?
Within reason.
I mean, it wasn't massively balanced.
No, I don't think Line Rampant's massively balanced, though. There is a fantasy version of Line Rampant called Dragon Rampant, which is exactly the same, but with slightly tweaked. Well, yeah, it has monster rules and stuff.
Oh, that's interesting.
I'm sure there are good rule sets out there that we could use for 6mm stuff, but yeah.
Tell us what you use for your 6mm fantasy.
I also painted Gonk. Photo here. Gold base because he's the main character. But yeah, that was me. A fairly good hobby month actually. Onod didn't force me to do it, but was able to make me feel sufficient.
Not physically, but
there were some mental games.
There was some emotional beats.
Yeah, and then proceeded to not finish painting his own, which rankled me slightly.
Well, yeah. So I painted most of my 6mm Normans, enough that I could play a game. I just didn't quite have enough time to finish painting a very small unit of skirmishers, which it turns out were actually really good.
And would have changed the game.
I wish I had them painted now. Definitely will have them painted next time. I've also painted some fantasy stuff, or had I painted that last time? I can't remember.
Citation needed.
I'll just send OT the photos and he can show them anyway. I painted a Warhammer Fantasy Dwarf Queen.
Oh, yes.
She was cool. And I painted some little spidery dudes. who will at some point be used in Middle Earth as a little teaser for a future video.
Spider dudes.
Months down the line, like I can't imagine that we're going to be recording that anytime soon.
No.
But yeah, I haven't taken a photo of them because they're not that interesting. They're the War Games Atlantic models, which is ridiculously cheap. You get for like £22, like something stupid like 20 something giant spiders. Basically, if you want to play Middle Earth and you want to use proxies, War Games Atlantic have got your spiders covered. I think that's. Oh, I did paint some terrain, but we don't really talk about it, do we?
No.
May, you've done some painting.
I painted 2 miniatures yesterday.
Counts.
In preparation for something we were doing today. It does count. I moved flat recently and just haven't got back into the painting as a result. So I was forced to dig my paints out of the boxes yesterday and blitzed a couple of models, Moff Gideon and a Imperial Remnant officer. I think they look all right, considering the amount of time I spent on them or didn't spend.
Yeah.
I think it's encouraged me to maybe try and be a bit more consistent, and I think over the last couple of years of us doing this, it's quite clear that either I'll paint a lot or not very much at all.
Feast or famine.
Yeah, so I mean, I don't know if that'll ever change, but maybe I just need to try and force myself to feast the rest of the Star Wars Legion stuff so I can move on with my life.
There we go. Right. Are we talking about Scouring?
We're talking about Scouring.
Hooray! We love Scouring.
We finished it.
We finished it. We did it.
It's the first series we finished.
It's the first series we finished. Wow, I suppose we finished our Legendary Legion series, but then they've released more Legendary Legions, which we haven't bothered to cover, so we sort of unfinished that one from a finished position. Anyway, what we're going to do, I think, you can correct me, OT, and then cut this audio if I'm wrong. We're running through all the slides very, very quickly just to remind ourselves of them.
Yeah.
But it will literally be like 30 seconds, blip, 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 blip.
Yeah.
We're then going to run over which ones we liked, which ones we didn't. We're going to kind of try and roughly make a top 3, bottom 3. And there's like 17 scenarios, 16?
16, I think.
Quite a lot. Most of them are just so mid, I don't think we're really going to talk about them. We're basically just going to talk about the few that are good and the few we absolutely loathe.
Yeah.
I think we're going to talk about the experience, sort of what we enjoyed, what we didn't enjoy so much, and then sort of lessons learned. And then I think we wanted to talk a little bit about what we felt narrative scenarios maybe should be, because I think we have views on how you can make them better. Not that we're obviously like paid to do any of this, and obviously we are wrong, but just personal preference, I guess.
Yeah.
Right. Are we going through an order, or are we just sort of going through?
Yeah, I think we'll tell a story. We'll go back to like a year ago when we started this fucking shit show.
When did we actually record the first one?
I think about this time last year. I think like September.
It's not already a year ago.
We've got 10 months of content out of it.
We were so excited to do it as well. Like by the end of it, we were just like, end this.
Yeah. Well, I think the excitement of doing a full narrative campaign's there, and I think that it's nice that we did this one to learn, because it means that we can then do bigger campaigns and we know how to do it better.
Yeah.
So the first one ever that we did, the first one in the book, was Skirmish and Brie.
Was
very low stakes.
Or so we thought.
Yeah. Some ruffians. I think it's Bill Fern, isn't it?
Yeah.
Versus some villagers in Brie.
Yeah. And some
remember,
militia.
I fucking bought from Etsy 6 random villager models, which literally we used once in this one scenario.
Yeah, and I've gone in that box and never seen them all day.
Have no other purpose ever.
Yeah.
I don't actually know where they are.
Throw them in the bin?
Possible. They might even be in that box of ruffians you took home. Don't want them back. So, that was the first one.
Yeah.
It was yeah.
So yeah, for that one,
probably was the better one.
Yeah, it wasn't bad. So for this one, the evil player had 25%. The hobbits, and the hobbits had to kill Bill Ferny.
Doesn't look bad on paper.
It doesn't look bad, but unfortunately, Bill Ferny just was rolling absolute sixes out of his arse on that one.
Yeah.
Killed like 4 hobbits, and it was a complete rampage.
The foreshadowing of what happens if you have a hero on the board that's slightly better.
Yeah,
because-
even just a tiny little bit better.
Yeah, it might as well have been Aaron.
Exactly. So that was the first one, Scouring Brie. Let's swiftly move on so that this is.
I'm going to give them a score out of 10.
Oh, we score him out of 10.
Given we don't have strong feelings about this one,
How are we scoring?
Is this a score like, how do I feel about it compared to all the others?
Yeah.
Okay, not like.
So the best Scouring scenario would be a 10, the worst one. Not compared to other SPG, because then it would be like 3. I think this is like a 5 or a 6. This is just largely inoffensive for me.
I'd probably put this at a 7 if we're
Wow.
comparing it to the other scenarios. Because it was at least
Split
like.
the difference to make it a 6.
It was at least like vaguely.
All right, let's call it a 7.
I felt like it was fun-ish.
I looking back at some of the earlier scenarios, I think a lot of the unconsequential ones were actually quite fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll give that a 7 out of 10. Next one was The Ruffians Arrive. This was the Girthy Bridge.
I like this one. This is one that I'd like to replay.
So objectives for this one were there was Robert and Holford, the leaders. Basically, Ruffians had to capture them. Hobbits win if they can stop that happening. Ruffians had a significantly larger force. And the end result was Hobbits got annihilated and both the leaders got captured. A couple of Ruffians drowned in the river.
Quite funny.
I think if we had a less girthy bridge, it'd be a better scenario.
This is one where, like, if we played it in a fluffier way and we had like ruffians trying to get across the river everywhere.
That's why you need the narrow bridge, isn't it?
I know. So a narrow bridge, yeah. But I enjoyed the premise of it, and I think so. The ruffians arrive. Interesting. So because of course a lot of these scenarios are partially assumptions, I guess, about the little battles that would have happened before heroes get home. So we're obviously pre the 4 heroes returning for quite a lot of the scenarios.
pretty much just like last 3
Yeah.
scenarios. What would I give this one? It's probably a 6.
I'd give it a 7.
I think this is actually. I think, to be honest, the first 2 are actually just fine. Essentially, there's nothing really wrong with them. I think I'll give
They're not massively balanced, but I think that's the point.
Yeah, I think that's fine. I'll give this one a 7.
I think they are much more balanced than some of the other ones.
Yeah,
Surprisingly balanced.
Yeah, I mean, by the end of the Ruffians Arrive, the 2 sheriff leaders were just in handcuffs.
But the issue
didn't really have a chance. And also, the stones. Throwing stones didn't really happen, did it?
Yeah, we messed that up.
I think we also need to be careful about confusing balance with not being swingy, because all it takes, as we've seen in like a load of these, is a couple of good dice
really
rolls.
good rolls.
But some of them are just like
inherently
nonsense.
shit. Yeah.
Maggots Farm,
8.
Maggots Farm an 8.
If it was written, if we balanced the shooting in the dark thing,
Wasn't dark though, remember?
no, you know what I mean.
But we did add balance.
Because it's a small scale in terms of, because you've obviously got the other one that you're sneaking around in that was just a nightmare to play. This one's a much smaller scale. I enjoyed the novelty of the shape of the board and the fact that the ruffians had to get through. If it had been played in a really fluffy way, where the ruffians are trying to sneak through everywhere, they might have been caught more easily.
I think the problem with this one is the rules for the sentries in Middle Earth are dumb.
Yeah.
Because we had to house rule it, and even then it didn't fix it.
No.
But
But maybe our house rule just makes
the
it
idea
worse.
that you can just shoot at sentries and they don't notice is like
Not good.
Pretty mental.
pretty mental. Personally, I didn't rate this one that highly. I just thought the sentry rules were stupid.
But is that a scenario problem, or is that
I think that's a narrative play problem, isn't it?
Yeah. So how do but we're scoring the scenario. So
The
it's
scenario
hard
is
to-
scenario is based on a
It
bad rule.
depends. Yeah. So it's hard to rate in that way. But that rule aside, that's what I'm giving it. That's what I'd like to see in it.
5.
I was going to give it a 6, so I think a 6 will do. I think it like I'm comparing it to the other ones later on. And I think it's less effective, but like I think it does. I think anything with sentries in just feels super clunky and takes so long as well. The old mill. This was where Onod's capable hands took over the ruffians.
Ah, yes. The one time in the early game.
So you basically Mayor parked the bus in front with the hobbits, got some good throw stones off. Ruffians ran into the meat grinder.
5.
It
Forgettable.
was pretty boring, wasn't it?
Pointless.
It's probably the most forgettable scenario.
Yeah.
There were no heroes involved.
There was
some
Ted
very
Sandeman.
weak heroes.
Ted Sandeman. So yeah. So the most forgettable, arguably, character.
Yeah.
With no other characters.
Yeah.
Isn't Ted Sandeman meant to win that? He is.
Yeah.
And he lost.
I think it was because on paper, right? 12 ruffians should beat 12 hobbits, but one good round of throw stones, which I think killed like 2 or 3 guys, and it was.
It's the lack of archers. It's like the only one where the ruffians weren't given archers, which I think should have happened a bit more.
I'm going to give this one a 4 or a 5. I think this one is the first of the poor ones.
Go lower, but
okay, we'll say 4.
It's not like inherently terrible, like
no, it's very boring. Yeah, you're right.
The Mayor's Arrest.
The Mayor's Arrest. Will Whitfoot.
It didn't feel like it's too much of a challenge.
This is where they started to get like the objectives told you to do one thing, but the objectives
Common
were just
sense
wrong.
is the other. Yeah,
like trying to make win conditions based on something impossible to do is not a fun experience.
Yeah, Will Whitfoot escaping or losing.
Yeah,
like that's just a bit shit, isn't it?
I know there's worse to come though. 3.
This is you memed at the end about like ones that are just a hobbit in the centre and they can't escape.
Like,
this is the first of these.
Four of that.
These are shitters. So yeah, I'll give this.
Yeah, it does feel like that was like the go-to.
Yeah.
Trying to escape.
Really kind of like what I think. Like if you do it once, but like because it just kept happening.
Yeah.
So look, it's the next identical
the death of Lotho. I think this might be the worst.
This is the worst, or close to the worst. I'm going to give this one a 2.
This was the one where with the Schrodinger's Grima.
Yeah.
And he just appeared and insta killed him in like 3 turns and it was done.
I don't think that was written
very well.
I don't understand why they buffed Grima. He's already so much better in combat than every other model on the board, and then they went, let's make it so that he always gets his like special thing just to make sure he absolutely kills Lotho. Yeah. But the thing is, if you want your scenario to end in the historical result, i.e. a character has to die, the defensive player should still have a way of winning if that character dies.
Yeah,
like because you're trying to do better than history, not completely rewrite it. Is how I view this. We'll get onto this later because I think I'm jumping ahead of myself. I'd say 2. Bad scenario. Not fun.
2 or 3.
Yeah, I think this is the. I'll give this one a 2. Cool. Dose. Right, the burning of Woody End. This was the one with all the different hobbit holes sprinkled around the board, and I had to set them on fire.
This was probably the best scenario, in my opinion.
It definitely had the most replayability.
I think it was the one that was the most fun for everyone involved. It was the one where we could play it roughly like a normal game with a little bit of like, we were doing stuff slightly narrative. It wasn't like completely try hard
with the burning stuff.
No heroes was nice.
Yeah. No, well, there were heroes. It's just
not ridiculous.
It was like Baldo Tolpney
and Thistleprick. This was the Thistleprick origins.
Like the hobbits actually could feasibly defend hobbit holes. Yeah. The ruffians could feasibly do stuff. We had traps. Like compared to all the others, this is the 10 for me. This is the best one.
It did feel like, because it was close, and there was lots of space for comebacks.
Yeah,
with the fires and stuff.
I think this is the best one.
Who won this one? Do you remember?
I think was it a draw?
I think it might have been a draw because I don't think I burned them all. win condition. I think I burned 4, so I think this was
again like it was like both sides had achievable victory conditions.
Yeah. Feels like it would have been very easy for it to be written that only 3 of them need to be burned, or sorry, only 4 need to be burnt, or whatever it would be for the Ruffians to win. But actually, the Hobbits just being able to defend that much less made a difference.
Yeah. And there was that sort of chance that you could put out the fire, like 10 for me.
I don't think any of these are perfect, so I'm going to say 9.
But isn't the point that we're comparing them to each other?
Okay, so we've got to have a 1 and a
So
9.
like,
I think we have to have one that is 1 and
if one is the best, then it has to be 10 in your opinion.
Without remembering the rest of them, yes.
Let's. I'll put this in provisionally as a 10, and we can always come back to it later. Uprooting a Bagshot Row. This was the one where I had archers, and I could just have sat back the entire game and blinked you to death. But I felt so guilty.
Flowers are done.
I felt so guilty that I charged up and lost.
Just a terrible scenario conception.
The win conditions for these: the good side wins if they can slay Bill Fernie. The evil side wins if they can produce the good side 25%. You guys just hide Bill Fernie and Plinky with archery.
So that's solid.
Yeah, I think this
was dreadful.
I think this is,
and it was boring to play.
Yeah,
because when you just mush them together, it's boring, and then if you actually play to try and win, it's boring. It's like great. If I try to have fun, if I try, I don't, and if I try to win, I also don't have fun. So
cool. The arrest of Folko Boffin. So this was, I think, you two took charge of each of the hobbits here.
6.
This was okay.
It was all right.
It was all right.
It was kind of fun. Like, I think it was relatively balanced because one side was weaker but could remove models. The other side was stronger but couldn't remove models. They could only put them in the.
Oh yeah, and you tried to go for that touchdown run down the right hand side.
Yeah,
which didn't work.
Yeah, I gave it a 7. I think it was fun.
Yeah, inoffensive and actually enjoyable to play.
Yeah, maybe 6 is a bit harsh actually.
Cool. The next one was the old storehouse. This was where you had to secure a bunch of.
Is this where we had to run into the middle?
You know what? This is the one. The idea that the hobbits actually have to take stuff off the.
That was mental.
I don't know if you actually did. You actually get anything? They're going to kill you.
Can we change the other one to a 2?
Yeah, change it on to a 2.
This is the one.
So
I mean, maybe both could be 1.
Yeah, I think I'll leave them both as 1 for now.
This is definitely the
okay. I'll put the other one. The other one could be a 1.5.
It wasn't fun. The only way you could do it was to sit in the corner and plink one at a time.
Which, even though we tried, we failed.
Oh yeah, this is where you like stealth the whole thing and then lost.
We took like 15 to kill like
I had to
8
cut,
guys
I had
or
to
so.
cut so much
But then
shit
there was just too many ruffians on one
Our
side.
deployment, there's no way to deploy in a good way.
We should have done like the Blood Bowl arrow for people moving instead of it being like they just move D3 in that direction every turn.
That's what I mean. The Central's garbage.
Yeah, honestly, like anyone with sentries in was just immediately worse.
Yeah.
Cool. So that's a 1. The next one was Bounders Strike Back.
This is the one I thought you'd play earlier. I think this was good.
Well, when we talk about farm maggots.
No, when I said it had no heroes.
Oh, this one was good.
Yeah,
I would put this at an 8 or 9.
Yeah, I think I liked that it didn't have any heroes because it made things a lot simpler. Low model count made it feel kind of arcadey almost, especially with a long map.
I think again we all actually had fun playing this one as well.
Yeah, and it came down to a dice roll in the end. The traps, I mean, it was fairly easy for OT to avoid eventually. I think if we'd done it again, we would have done it differently.
We also, through not understanding how to place them well in that scenario, did a poor job. Definitely, if you replay the scenario, you would find it easier as the Hobbits, I think.
I would have liked one more Hobbit.
Yeah, but then I think we'd have been slightly too good. I think it was a well-balanced numbers on both sides.
It felt like they'd played this one.
Yes,
in a way that it didn't feel like they played some of the others.
This one felt actually they had worked out with both to win.
Yeah.
Yep.
I'd be interested to see which of these scenarios were in the old book and which one were added to this one, and whether the newer editions weren't so well. Then that might completely disprove my point. It might be the opposite.
Cool. So give this one a 9, 8 or 9.
8 or 9.
I give it a 9.
Cool. The Brockenborings.
This is where Freddy and
This is the
bearded
conga line meet. Where you it's not just one slow hobbit in the centre, it's 2, and neither of them are armed.
2. I just don't know what they were thinking with these ones.
So aggressively mid.
And isn't it? Yeah, it's a 4-foot table.
Why is that Bill Fernie?
Yeah, Bill Fernie was back at it
again.
That's
just overkill. Why do you Fernie?
Why do they keep thinking that a 4-foot board where you have to escape is a good idea? At least with the 2-foot ones, there's like a slight chance you just get lucky. The 4-foot ones is like,
no, it's not happening.
It's not happening.
Cool. Yeah, Brockenborings I put as a 2, maybe even a 1.
I don't think it's the worst. It wasn't like
it wasn't as offensive.
It wasn't as,
the lock holes.
4. Bad for the opposite reason. It was impossible for the ruffians to do anything.
Yeah.
And like, obviously, I'm like happy that the scenarios mostly worked at the right side one, but again, like the ruffians shouldn't have
felt
had
a bit more forced, didn't it?
Yeah.
It was unbalanced in the opposite way. A 3 or a 4 feels fair. At least it was a bit of respite for the hobbits.
Yeah. I'll give this a 4. I think that's a little generous. The attack on Tuckborough.
I didn't like this one, honestly.
The line of objectives in the centre that you had to move.
Probably a 2 or 1.
This is not. This is imbalanced for different reasons. It's imbalanced because of movement speed.
It's just one where all
was
they
a race to the
all they had to do was think to themselves, like, as soon as the ruffians move, they will move beyond the objectives, and it's impossible for hobbits to win.
Yeah.
And even if you sent like an equal number of hobbits at each objective, the ruffians can still stall enough. Like,
2. I think a 2. Because also you had the most OP lineup you could possibly have.
Yeah, the hobbits went
still got bitten. Like if you hadn't had all your good heroes in the lock hole.
I think we were missing one possible hero.
Yeah.
The end game scenario was also shit.
Yeah.
It was like, if you kill too many models, the game ends. Well, how else are the hobbits meant to get through?
The hobbits can't reach objectives without ending the game.
It's like if you played an army with 1,000 models in an objective scenario, and they're fighting you on your board edge, but it's objective based. Like, how are you meant to get through? It's not.
Old Cotton's Farm.
It's the same boring scenario, but this time the ruffians
get fucked. I mean, your heroes were just so good in this.
Actually, maybe even a 2. It was so imbalanced again.
Yeah.
I don't. It wasn't as because of the board size. Didn't feel as imbalanced as like.
Okay, it wasn't ridiculous. Try and make a hobbit run 2 foot into the middle of the board, then 2 foot off the board without a single ruffian seeing them bad. But it was terrible.
Yeah, it was a 3, I think.
Yeah, not good. And then the big one, Battle by Water.
6.
Ooh.
And that's probably the most generous.
I'd give it a 5. I feel it was very average.
Why was this on a 2x2?
Yeah, I know.
You have this?
Sharky running away.
Probably
to do that. You can make it 2x4 though, because it's not like they didn't use that size forever. They don't have to be square.
I don't think Sharky should.
Or you could do 3x3.
Yeah, I think this on a 3x3.
Or just don't have Sharky. It's meant to be that the leader of the ruffians, i.e. Sid, is killed by Merry.
Yeah.
So just make it that they have to defend Sid.
Yeah.
And then have another scenario in the end where Sharky dies.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
actually, no, I don't want to scenario.
No, I think they just really wanted Sharky.
Yeah.
But I don't think
because they wanted
I would have preferred.
Model,
yeah. I mean, we didn't, did we?
No.
We bought third party. That.
Get fucked.
So
it's because we already had the pony models because we just bought them.
But like, yeah, it didn't feel necessary at all. And actually, it would have been. I mean, in the books, the ruffians come on, and then I'm pretty sure all the hobbits pull barriers over where they've just come through. So it should have actually been a reverse surrounding where the ruffians are in the middle.
We set up a barrier, but then immediately we had to leave the barrier because there was no incentive to ruffians to fight us at the barrier.
Because we knew eventually Sharky was going to come on, and we'd have to go to him.
Yeah.
And also that the ruffians just respawned, which also doesn't fucking happen.
Yeah, the Hobbit should be respawning because it's the whole Shire versus a small group of men.
Yeah. So actually, it makes no sense.
That's one where, by trying to make a balanced scenario, they took away the fluff. If you're not going to bother making any of the other ones balanced,
don't start in the last one.
Yeah.
Oopsie.
I'd say more like a 3 or a 4.
I think again, this is another one. This is another one where they actually played it and they were like, "Shit, we need to balance this." So I will say, in this one's defense, it was balanced.
Yeah,
it just wasn't thematic.
I think 3 or 4 is just a bit unfair, just because compared to some of the really bad ones, at least this one is a playable scenario. So I think middling.
I think a 5.
Yeah,
it ends on a very average note.
Yeah, cool.
It's probably our only 5.
We've got a few 2s.
It is our only 5.
A sprinkling of 1s, a 6 in there. Cool.
So there are. I think it's fair to say there are a couple of diamonds in.
Yeah, but there's a lot of.
So there's a lot of, and I think to get to the diamonds, you're either going to have to play random scenarios which aren't really worth playing in and of themselves, or you're going to have to sit through a fairly poor to average campaign just to get a couple of experiences which were good fun.
Cool. I reckon we do
top 3.
And I'll just put the slides vaguely in the background.
Top 3, burning of something.
Woody End.
The one where the the archers were having
bound to strike back.
Bound to strike back. I think it has to be Battle of Whitewater just because it was actually a reasonably
balanced.
It was like a proper little end at least, and no, it wasn't perfect, but it was good enough.
Should we do your bottom 3 now, and we can just do all of ours individually, or should we do the top 3 now?
Oh god, my bottom 3. Storehouse.
Yep.
The Tuckland one.
The Tuckborough, yeah.
Tuckborough one.
Yeah.
And oh god, there's so many bad ones.
Yes, which one do you pick?
It's either
not Old Mill.
It's which of the run a slow hold off the board one first, really, isn't it?
Death of Lotho with the Schrodinger's Grima.
I think at least Schrodinger, because I think Schrodinger's Grima, there's a chance that the ruffians roll poorly. Yeah. So I think there's a more objectively worse version of that, isn't there?
The Will Whitfoot one? Mayor's Arrest? Brock and Borings?
I'm probably going to go for Brock and
Cool. That's fair.
I think just the tedium of having to have the 4-foot board.
And just knowing from the beginning.
At least okay, I only actually have to move 4 turns to get off.
Lobelia escaped in that one.
Yeah, but
it was fucking clutch as fuck.
Not in a
we needed evidence.
Yeah, you did. Do you want to do your best and worst moment now, or should we come back to those later?
Best moment?
Yeah.
Yeah, no. I think it was probably Bounder's Strike Back.
As a particular part in it, or
I think just the way it ended, it all came down to a sequence of dice rolls. Yeah. It felt like it was balanced. I think you could say the same about Burning. I think I'd be very happy to say playing the ending of Burning was pretty much like that.
Yeah.
Didn't really find the ending to the Battle of Bywater satisfying.
No.
Worst moment.
The rest.
The feeling of depression.
I'm going to put sadness.
Yeah, sadness. Thank you. Just my sadness at like what I had like really kind of like thought was going to be a good, fun little thing to do. Yeah. And I don't, as I say, don't regret doing it. I think there were plenty of moments of fun, and I think that it was good to actually do it. And I think for what we want to do in our games, we don't always just want to play tournament games. We like doing little narrative things. Like, you can cut this. The little narrative we did with Legion today was good fun. Like something a bit different. But I think it's just we played Scouring wrong, wasn't it?
Cool. I'll come to Mayor next. Top 3.
I'm going to put Maggot's Farm on here.
Wow.
Bold. I just like how gimmicky it is. Despite the...
Yeah, if that was the only use of sentries, maybe I'd have been more...
I also forgot we used the donkey to bring Maggot on, because we were like, this is bullshit.
Like, it's only fun, but you fucking made up a rule.
I know, well, the lower the model count, I kind of enjoyed them a bit more. I did enjoy the fire one, whichever one.
Burning of Woody End?
I did enjoy, I think that. And
the trap one?
Yeah, the Bounder Strike Back.
So basically the same list as mine.
Pretty much the same.
I think there's right.
Yeah. Least favourites. Part of me kind of enjoyed the death of Lotho. I think if the like gimmick of Grima.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
I enjoyed, but
I didn't put it in my bottom 3.
No, I know. It's just it'd be interesting to see like how we've rated these versus suddenly our bottom 3 is like completely different.
Honors were quite consistent.
I think I'm just looking through these.
You seem to have a lot of hate for the Tuckborough one.
Yeah, I'm going to say Tuckborough. I really enjoyed the photo.
Honor is really cool.
But like literally, how could you design that scenario?
It did feel almost intentionally bad.
It's mental weird.
On an objective-based scenario.
And I'm going to put the Battle of Bywater on there.
What, in the bottom 3? Wow.
I felt disappointed that it wasn't like it was the climax, but I just felt stressed.
Yeah.
Maybe that's partly the way we played it, or maybe it's.
I think it was the way we played it. I think it was because we did it all building up to it. It felt like
we
had to get it right. Otherwise, it was like the whole thing just for the Ruffians to win would have felt pretty.
I just really enjoyed the inconsequential ones. That's why.
Yeah.
You
need one more. You need to pick one more scenario.
I've only picked.
You've got Tuckborough and Battle of Bywater. You need one more.
Tuckborough and Battle of Bywater. Oh god, there's so many. It's hard to choose.
There's so many shitters.
Oh wait, didn't I?
Surely Brock and Boring.
Yeah, Brock and Boring. I keep coming back to that one.
Come on, Storehouse was worse than Brock and Borings. The one where we had to run to the storehouse and run off.
The stealth mission. But you enjoyed the sweat.
It was like playing Splinter Cell.
The issue was, though, wasn't it, that because of the randomness of movement, my guys couldn't. Guys got lucky.
Yeah.
Could, but
Well, the hero went towards you. I just enjoyed that. Like
Brock and Boring.
It felt like we were playing a hard mode.
Yeah.
And the fact, you know what it was? It's because we were basically playing against AI for most of the game.
I had no control.
Your choice was them.
So
I enjoyed that we were like trying to defeat this like
machine,
seemingly unintelligible rabble of people.
Okay, that's fair. I can understand that. I would just put both in the bottom. I did, but anyway.
So favourite moment, I was also thinking about the end of what's it called?
Bounders
Strike Back. Just there were several opportunities right at the end of that game where it still could have gone either way.
Yeah.
And that whole game was really balanced, so enjoy that.
I remember when you said bitch and then missed your dice roll. I think that was and then your worst moment, the low of the series.
I think it was just realising
sadness.
It was realizing
that you wasted months of our lives.
We were 80% through Tuckborough. What the end scenario, what the end condition of the game was.
Roller 2. Oh no!
Well, it was just so like deflating that because there's so much setup involved as well.
Yeah,
and we as the Shire had killed so many ruffians. We were like, yes, like this is it. Like we can push through. And then because of their short fucking legs and the way that SPD works, where you can basically block anything you need to, the game just ended, and we didn't really have a chance to take advantage of the space we'd created. Yeah. And it was just a massive what the fuck. I'm
gonna put Tuckborough brackets sadness.
Yeah. AT.
Yeah.
What were your top 3?
I'm gonna put the Bree one in there. Skirmishing Bree. Yeah. I think that one had a simple charm.
It's actually the only one we played twice.
Yeah, we did.
Because me and you did a practice run through, didn't we?
To see what was to come.
Yeah.
I'm going to put Bounders in there because I think that's a really well-designed scenario. And I'm going to put Burning of Woody End because I think that was a really good, well-designed scenario.
And I think it is interesting, isn't it, how the well-designed scenarios end up being the most fun, which I think is an important point we'll come back to.
And the closest.
And then your least favourite?
Cotton's Farm, for me, was very deflating because I just felt a complete lack of agency. So I'm going to put Cotton's Farm in there.
Mm-hmm.
I'm also going to put the Uprooting of Bagshot Row, which was the one with the archers, because I could just depart the bus. And I'm going to put Tuckborough in there because I've never felt less satisfied with an MESBG win than with that one. My best moment, I mean, it was probably you saying bitch and then missing your shot. That was quite good. Also, when I drowned 2 ruffians and there was my only casualties and the ruffians arrived, that was quite hype. I put ruffians drown.
It was just the way that, the first time it happened, we were like, okay, that was unexpected, but that's not going to happen again. And then
the second time
they touched the water.
Yeah. I think there were a couple of worse moments. It was in the Battle of Bywater where I whipped into combat 3 times, and every time I wounded, it was on my own guy. I don't remember that. His heroic combat thing where I whipped into combat and hit my own guy and killed him. What else were low points? I think how quick the death of Lotho was. The 3 turns, and I
reading through a book,
setting
up a board, probably longer than 50 minutes actually. Obviously, because we're recording, we have our little pre-game discussion about how we're going to record it, what we're going to do, how we're going to set it out, who's going to be the person kind of leading the scenario. And then
then it's over.
And then the first, so you immediately just end the game. It's brilliant.
Yeah.
Good. Let's just
back up the board.
Take the table down again. Good.
Jeez. Yeah.
We did actually say, didn't we? Should we just play it twice? And then we were like, no,
I'll do.
Let's just move on.
But yeah, that's it all done. So, in terms of other bits to talk about, are we going straight on to what we'd improve?
No, I think let's just first, before we start bashing the rules, let's just acknowledge what we got wrong. Because I think that did impact our enjoyment of some of it.
Ruffians should have had more fight the whole time.
I don't think that was something we got wrong.
I think that was something
we did.
Was sensible.
When you say, things we got wrong,
as in how we played it.
Sure.
Yeah, so we shouldn't have picked sides.
Yeah.
Just to give it some context, we basically, before we did Scouring, went through every model that you needed, and we worked out who was going to do what. And because me and Mare already had Shire forces, we could kind of divide up what it was. And we ended up actually having mostly doubles because me and Mare basically ended up collecting a Shire force
for basically everything
for our own kind of enjoyment anyway. And we were oh, ruffians, we'll just use some proxies. They were Frostgrave models. Yeah. You only need a couple of boxes and you can just contrast paint them. So we were doing the Hobbit, so OT did them. And then when it came to playing, we just kind of played with our own models, which I think made sense.
Made sense at the time, right?
Made sense from kind of like how we normally do stuff.
Yeah.
Probably wasn't for the best in the long term, because what ended up happening was we both really, really wanted our sides to win. And it also meant that rather than us being in it together in a kind of like, we're doing a narrative scenario to just like see what happens, we instead started to game it. And that's probably our fault, because definitely you two are more tourney orientated than most, and I am like reasonably competitive when I like get going.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was probably the overwhelming mistake that we made, I think. And I think that had some knock-ons.
Yeah.
I don't think that forgives the scenarios that we have been picking on as particularly bad apples, though.
I think it was also to do with our instincts. Was, I think I said this like a week or two ago, I think, where it was like our instinct is to look for a winning strategy.
Yeah.
And like what we didn't realize until probably too late was that, I think it was actually Tuckborough where I realized, I was like, actually, there isn't a winning strategy here for the Hobbits. Like, everything was in your favor. You played as well as you could have done,
but even if, because I was just thinking, even if we hadn't chosen sides, let's say on Tuckborough, let's say we both played both forces and tried to make it fluffy or accurate. If you're playing as the ruffians, what do? We can't have. No. We can't have bands of ruffians just meandering near the back of the board. So we're like, okay, well, the ruffians would go forward here, but do we make them go forward at full pelt? Where,
I think I don't know if it was a case of we, like, all three of us just conspired to always make the most optimal play. I think it had to be more like we took it in turns to genuinely swap. So it was a bit more like, oh, bad luck, like, the scenario's not balanced, but you'll get to play the ruffian next turn. Next time win, and it didn't feel like such a kind of like.
So you're saying we'd alternate between games?
Yeah, personally, I think, and we'll get onto this improvements. I think you need one of us should have been like a GM.
I would have really liked. Well, not spoiling anything we've done recently, but I would have liked it to have been pick the ruffians or the Shire and play against a sort of AI type enemy, because that really lets you play together rather than against one another, even if you're sort of playing against one another in a trying to be fluffy. It's quite difficult.
I think the problem with that is I think AI works very well in a game like Legion, where everything is very everything has a rule, whilst a lot of the things with SVG are not necessarily rule-based, but how you use a rule.
Yeah.
So you would have then you would lose so much from like the ruffians. I agree though that even if we just did like a really simplified thing of like the ruffians must charge closest model, it probably would have made it a more enjoyable experience for us co-oping, like trying to work it out. But I think a games master would have been a good way of doing it.
If you had a games master controlling the ruffians and trying to play them in a fluffy way that challenges the Shire, then the people who are playing the Shire or whichever side seems to be at a disadvantage,
I think
can try and
I think that's how I want to do the next one. So for the next one, where the models we're going to be using the side of good are going to be mine, I'm quite keen for me to play as the bad guys, because I kind of want the good guys to win.
Right.
So I will play the bad guys in like a games master way that's fun. And I think that's how we'll do the next one, but we'll see when we get there. And I don't talk too much about it, just so that we're not tied to something that never happens on the channel.
Yep.
Do we think we made any other mistakes?
No. I think like we followed the rules. I think one thing I maybe reflected on was that we maybe almost played them too soon after each other. Like I think if we'd like had time to go away and just like pause between them, and just like actually think about what we wanted to do, because like I think
that's the issue of recording.
because you made a joke, I can't remember, it was again like a week or two ago, where it's just like, isn't it the definition of madness just doing the same thing again and expecting different results? And we just kept like plowing into them, being like, oh, it'll be different this time. And then first time you two, as the Hobbit player, won legit was scenario 13.
Yeah. What do you mean one legit?
Well, so because the only one you won before then was the uprooting of Bagshot Road, which is where I had the bows and Bill Fernie at the back.
We won,
and then I threw it away.
The one where
Yeah.
Okay, so us as the Shire.
Yeah, exactly. Right. So like, because literally, like, I don't think you guys did anything wrong, but like, the only one where it suddenly swings back into your favour is after you've lost, hypothetically, 11 or 12 scenarios, and by that point you're like, what the fuck are we doing?
There's a couple standard chance.
Yeah.
It did feel like a lot of it was
filler. Was going through the motions so that you're
setting up the Winslow
a full story, but in reality it's not interesting enough to tell that story
because so many of them are the same.
You could have got away with literally a third of the story.
Just do 8 much better designed scenarios.
Yeah.
Tie all of the ones where they have to escape off the board into one scenario. They all have to escape off the board the same scenario if you want to do that. Anyway, should we talk about the 4 things we think were wrong with the actual scenarios and the improvements we've made?
So we're not referring to individual scenarios. We're just talking about
design. Well, we can refer to general as like examples, but what we generally want to do that would be different. Not just us playing, but like from how would a book be written way.
Remove the scenarios where movement is a defining factor.
In a scenario where they have such different movement stats,
because I think they are too difficult to balance in a way that is fun.
Yeah.
Because if it's a ruffian escaping, the hobbits inherently kind of have to panic and sprint to the centre, because if the ruffian escapes, it's done.
Or in the case of the archery one, you make a really thin board where they can't, the hobbits actually have a chance to stop them.
If one side has bows, the other side should have bows. Like, having one side have bows is inherently stupid.
Don't play these linked as it's suggested in the book. Just don't.
What do you mean by linked?
Like, you don't need it to say in the next scenario your Hobbit hero can't use fate point, because that Hobbit hero almost certainly is going to lose anyway. You don't need to make it more difficult. And the snowballing was just unnecessary. I mean, again, bearing in mind, we played with the ruffians nerfed in every single scenario deliberately.
My goodness. Like... Oh, holy crap.
So I think just if you want to play all of them, but play them all without the linking thing.
Yeah.
Because the linking thing wasn't good.
Yeah, it doesn't add much. I think, and actually you said this earlier, Mary, you just said it as well, like the scenarios that feel like quite self-contained, and also sometimes the smaller like model count just is nicer. Like, I think it just feels less like intimidating, and it's maybe easier to relax and like play the game more thematically. Whereas like in the Battle of Bywater, I think all of us were quite stressed because we suddenly had like quite a few resources to manage, and like stuff like heroic strike and heroic combat, which we hadn't been using apart from for memes, suddenly became like very important.
Yeah, which is weird because that's more like the normal battles we play.
Yeah, but I think it was just because we'd adjusted to the weird scouring mindset.
It's meant to be, it's meant to not be competitive. I agree. I enjoyed the scenarios that had less at stake. But is it a campaign scenario if there's stake?
Yeah, that's true. I mean, you want a little bit of stake, don't you? Like, you don't want to, like, if we were playing a bigger scale thing and we were doing like Battle of Helm's Deep, you don't want it to feel like you're not actually fighting to win the battle.
Yeah, I mean, you wouldn't be able to do a Battle of Helm's Deep without it progressing in some way. The Deeping Wall being breached or the gate being knocked down. But in this, it did feel like, and it's interesting that you'd quite like it to not have any kind of inter-scenario influence. Can I ask you, is that because you'd prefer it to feel less consequential, or
I just think it was unnecessarily punitive?
Is it because
the
ruffians had an advantage?
What the bonuses were? It was often, and sometimes it was a case of like one bonus was really good, the other bonus was like, who cares?
Yeah.
So it's like a lot of the bonuses were like the ruffians get
3 extra troops,
more troops, or the hobbits don't get to use any traps. And then you looked at the other side, and it was like, what happens if it's the other way around? Like, oh, the hobbits get like Gaffer in this scenario, and you're like, but Gaffer's useless. Or like Freddy Bulger's going to be there. Great. Like
I'd rather have a militia.
Yeah, a guy who literally can't wound because he doesn't have a weapon.
Yeah.
So it just felt a little bit kind of like they're just thrown together some like random stuff and hadn't really thought about the consequences of it.
Yeah.
I think my main takeaway and what I've been thinking about with this is I say historical, you know what I mean. The lore accurate ending of a scenario should not be the win condition. That should be the draw condition, right? You draw if exactly what happens in the lore happens. What you should be playing for is, can you do it more effectively in a better way, in a more, can Aragorn not only defeat the Uruk-hai but save Boromir? Like, that's the win condition for the goods. Boromir dying is the draw condition, and then the evil side has to then again do better than the actual
They've
thing.
got to capture Sam as well.
Yeah, exactly. So that's kind of like how I view it, and I think that this more like asymmetrical sort of style of like win conditions, it wasn't done enough. And I think the interesting thing is the scenarios that we liked were the ones where they were kind of doing that. You know, the ruffians have to burn all of the hobbit holes because that's a big challenge for them, and that's doing the best possible, not just accomplishing burning 50% of the holes. Because if it was burned 50% of the hobbit holes, which is the equivalent of the character doesn't escape, right? Like when the characters are trying to escape, the draw condition should be the character is captured, and then it should be how long does it take them to capture the character.
So Brock and Borings, for example, it was a draw if one of them got off.
Yeah.
But it should have been a draw if neither of them get off, right? Because they both get captured.
So, yeah. Draw if neither get off.
Yeah.
Win if the hobbits get one or more off.
Yeah.
And then I think, can the ruffians do it with few casualties? Can the ruffians do it with in a certain turn limit? So you see how
capture more hobbits,
and then it's not just the ruffians can sit back and shoot, or the ruffians can just throw people in to take out hobbits. They actually have to think, can I do this in a way which is efficient? Can I do this in a way that's good? And I appreciate that for people who want to just sit there and move models around and smash them into each other, like fine, but you can do that anyway. You don't really need the victory conditions if you want to do that. Like, I just felt like that asymmetrical style of thing actually then means there's like a purpose to the narrative scenarios other than just going through the motions. Because although I like playing SPG, I would prefer there to be some kind of like, can I do better than what happens in the lore? Like, I'm playing the scenario as a what if, not just to get a literal recreation, but a what if I can do better, or what if
and the recreation is getting drawn.
Yeah.
So then I guess my question is, because it's going to be more common, I guess, to have draws in a campaign like that. So how would you get a satisfying ending in the last scenario? Would you try to avoid it being too easy to get a draw? So,
because I think in the last scenario, you create, like this one, a balanced scenario where there is no draw condition.
Right. Yeah.
Like
no draw condition.
The game must end with a win or a loss.
Yeah, I like that.
Because the Battle of Bywater was balanced. It just was weird because the ruffians respawned. The hobbits did create this artificial pressure on the hobbits, right? Like,
well, so the ruffians, interestingly, had to kill all the Hobbit heroes.
Yeah.
But in the book, they don't kill any of them.
Yeah.
So if they kill maybe two, then they win, right?
They should have won for killing Merry.
Yeah, or something like that.
They killed Merry, and all we achieved was the result that happened anyway, with none of the Hobbit heroes dying.
I mean, in the book, the ruffians are massively outnumbered as well, and fully surrounded. So we could definitely have done that if the ruffians are fully surrounded. If they win if they kill all the hobbits. The hobbits get reinforcements and win if they take out all the ruffians, bind them in chains, or they all flee, and there's no more ruffians fighting. Like, and you could even have, because I know that there's no courage tests, right, in all of these, and that's because in narrative play it specifies it. So in this one, obviously in the battle, lots of the ruffians run away. So this is where you introduce a rule about breaking. God, we could come up with a really cool battle.
I think the thing, if you're willing to put a bit of time and effort into, and I don't think we can blame the rules writers. We know for a fact that they made this book because there was a gap in between releases and Games Workshop allowed them to do something. I'm happy they made it.
Yeah,
I'm glad they made it, and we got all the nice little Hobbit sculpts. I'm not saying that, like, you know, just because they couldn't put loads and loads of time to book, they shouldn't have done it because it was nice. But yeah, I think if you were able to give it the time and resources that are possible, you can always make something better. So that would be my kind of like rewrite solution, how I think they should be done. If though I was going to recommend this to somebody, like, you buy the book and play it as is, my other way of making it better is you have a games master. You don't tell players specifically how to win. You just tell them what they should be doing. Hobbit player, you need to try and get as many of your models off the board. Ruffian player, you need to stop them. Ruffian player doesn't know that Will Whitfoot is specifically required to get off the board, right? Yeah. Or you say you have to arrest Will Whitfoot, but you don't actually tell the ruffian that all they're doing is bringing him off the board. They might think, I have to actually, like, arrest him within, like, a certain time limit or something.
Could you tell? Is that the same thing? Could you give them, like, each a secret, like, tell them how to win against the other player? So ruffian player, you've got to arrest Will Whitfoot. Will Whitfoot player, you've got to escape the board. The ruffian doesn't know that Will Whitfoot can win by escaping the board, and the Will Whitfoot player doesn't know that they're trying to arrest him.
Or you could do it the other way around. Ruffian player, Will Whitfoot will win if he escapes the board, but you don't tell him how he wins specifically.
So you don't tell Will Whitfoot that he can escape the board.
Well, I think you say to the Will Whitfoot player, like, the ruffian player's trying to arrest you. I don't think that's the best example of this. But like, say the one where they're setting fire to the Hobbit holes or something.
Burning all the end.
You just say to the ruffian, your job is to set fire to the Hobbit holes.
I suppose that does require 3 people.
Well, yeah. But that's what I'm saying. Like, I think if you were going to play this now, it is best with 3-4 people.
I mean, you could do it where you've got, like, 2 pages at the back of the book, one that the Hobbit player refers to, and one that the ruffian player refers to, and then it's just the list of scenarios and the way you
go. But I think the objectives, knowing them ahead of time, kind of changed the actual feeling of the scenario from this is what we're doing to this is kind of what the law says we're going to do. Like, what we're actually going to do is form a little conga line of hobbits because it's the only way we can possibly do anything, rather than moving around like a normal.
Because, like, if we take the uprooting of Bagshot Road for instance, example, the one we have to defend Bill Fernie, like, that one, if you don't tell the ruffian player specifically they have to defend Bill Fernie, they might just chuck him in, and then suddenly they're like well on top, right? Because you actually should be in that scenario, and then suddenly it's like, shit, the Hobbit player is one now.
Well, so if they know what the scenario is,
it's like, Bo's Bill Fernie in the corner.
The best way to do it is to hide him in the corner. And, like, that was the only scenario. Like, we actually need to just play poorly because this will just be.
Could you do a thing where, like, the scenario tells each player what they've got to do, but after 10 turns, you have a look in a certain page, and it tells you the win conditions. So Bill Fernie might already be dead for 3 turns, and then it tells you Bill Fernie's dead, you've lost, or whatever it is.
Like there's loads of stuff you can do, isn't there? But I think the point is that a lot of these just didn't have the time or thought. But that's fine because it is what it is.
I think there's also an element of trying to make them a bit like the MESPG match play scenarios, and that there's like a defined because it's the same.
And again, some of the better ones are the ones which were further away from the defined scenarios.
Like any of these that end on a 1 and a 2, like what?
Why not? It's like they try to balance them and make them fluffy and missed both a lot.
And I think some of them are either one or the other, but very few of them are actually both. But yeah.
There we go. That was Hobby Breakfast Show complains about Scouring of the Shire.
News. Bunch of fucking releases.
Yeah, they've shown off the new box set. I wasn't expecting them to show it off this early. I wonder why they did so. What do you think? It looks pretty good. I like all the new models.
Yeah. Plastic sculpts.
Yeah, I think the Ruffians. Got
Ruffians on the brain.
The Wildmen have done a look better than the Rohan, in my opinion.
Yeah. I'm glad that I never bought Wildmen for my house.
Are they metal sculpts, the old Wildmen?
Yeah, they are. I listened to I can't remember, we talked about this before. I talked to someone about this. I listened to the Return of the King again the other day, and in is it the appendix that happens after when it's Andy Serkis doing the audiobook, and in there is Tolkien's history of Rohan, and I've basically spoiled the movie for myself because he basically goes through like wolf and like all that shit. So, but it looks really intriguing, and I can see why they've chosen that to do a movie on, and I can't wait to see it. And I think the miniatures look really cool.
Yeah. I think the prospect of a little Dunland Isengard hybrid army with the Oathmaker. Now you've got those plastics is quite appealing as well.
Yeah, Oathmaker. Throw him in there.
How do we feel about the stuff in the box set?
As in, like, what you get?
The contents.
I think it's a nice set. I think it might be quite expensive.
Price predictions, quickly.
140.
Wow. Yeah, I would have said around there. So I'm going to say 141.
Excellent.
I'm going to say 139.
I think it will be 1.
Okay. I originally said 140 quid. I don't know. I think it'll be interesting to see if they try and push the price of the new plastic sculpts and what they, with the warrior sculpts.
Because if they're still boxed in 24 box, Games Workshop don't box anything more than 10 in their other games, and they're like 40 quid.
Okay. So I think it can't be more than 150.
But if they're insane. If they're still, it means that you can really pack a sprue with modern Games Workshop sprues. They're gonna roll on. Yeah.
They'll just be like micro. They'll be like millimeters.
Piss if they release fucking plastic hobbits today down the line. Always metal hobbits before.
So dense.
I love the metal hobbit.
They all look the same though.
Yeah, but there's something retro about that.
Yeah, I guess.
It's just imagine in like 5-10 years time rocking up to a game. You're playing some 18-year-old who's got all the plastic hobbits, and you've got the OG.
Back in my day.
Yeah,
I know they're worse.
Metal.
I think what's more like
as in metal
is, I think what's more like that eBay price skyrocket sell them off and buy
the plastic ones.
I'm not fucking paying
fractions of the price.
Have you seen how many hobbits though?
Yes, I have.
Ridiculous.
Yeah. Well, I've already sold a whole Hobbit army, bought one and repainted it. So
bastard with this fucking ribbon
again.
One thing I was in terms of the heroes they've opted to include.
They deliberately missed out.
No helm,
no hero, no wolf. No, there is wolf.
No wolf. There is wolf.
It's no wolf's dad.
Yeah, wolf senior.
The name I can't remember.
Yeah.
I think.
Is that a deliberate choice?
Yes,
Yeah,
because Hera is going to be the.
Everyone will buy her separately.
Everyone will buy a separate £25.
Yeah.
And then Helm will be like 30 something.
Helm will be like £27.50.
I mean, there's already a Helm, maybe.
No, that one's going to be. I think that one will be Legends.
Yeah.
Because the new one has a hammer.
Yeah.
Because obviously they didn't take the hammer hand metaphorically.
What?
He didn't actually have a hammer.
No, I know.
They've both included the scene where he punches the guy to get the name, but then he does also have a hammer, just in case you weren't clever enough to work that out.
Right. It's also because he just goes around beating people to a pulp in the middle of the night.
Yeah.
Outside Helm's Deep, right? So,
and then freezes to death.
So that model will actually be quite rare because that Forge World Helm, you'll probably find that not that many were sold comparatively to some of the older sculpts of SPG.
Shame, because it was a cool sculpt.
Good sculpt.
I think you'd be
glad
surprised
I've
how
got
many
it.
people have bought that.
To be fair, it was very good Legion.
Yeah, the community is huge, is it? Like,
but the thing is, anyone who's got a Rohan army will have bought one because you get because you literally had to buy one model to basically play a whole different.
Yeah.
I imagine quite a few people will have. But anyway, yeah, the new one will be plastic, and I imagine it'll be nice, and he'll get a different profile start now, won't he? Because he'll have a hand. Yeah. I doubt they're just going to wheel out the same rules.
He'll be sort of younger, not. Well, he won't because he doesn't really get much older.
But sons and his daughter, there'll be some rather than making him
some synergy,
rather than making him Aragorn, he's going to be more like Theoden.
He'll be Bard. Yeah. He'll be like Bard.
He'll be like Hera will be like a Eowyn, but Aragorn. So it'll still be fight 5, but she'll be like
strength 3. Still.
Really, yeah. Because Games Workshop,
but she'll have Andor. But yeah, I like the box because they've got an actual game mat in there. They've got Rohan houses, which is cool.
Paper game.
Well, it's double-sided. It's a double-sided play mat.
Paper.
They've got some fences in there.
Yeah.
Rules manual, always good.
It's a nice set, and there's no denying.
Yeah.
If you know what, if they can somehow get that in at 20, it'll sell very. Because when you weigh them, that's going to be under.
It can't be over 150. I don't think that would be fucking insane.
I don't think Games Workshop that bold. Yeah. I don't think they would imagine that they'll sell enough of the Lotra stuff at one. Like they'd have to be super confident that film's going to do well to do that,
which is far from.
I mean, I think it'd do pretty well.
Yeah, but I think an animated film will be. There's always going to be an audience who are put off by.
But arguably, it brings in a new audience.
True.
As well.
Yeah, I guess it's just whether that's the audience that buy models.
Well, it's that audience's parents that buy models.
Yeah. Well, we'll see. Was there any other news?
I don't think there was anything else. There's nothing on the.
Bolt Action's just been released as of yesterday, and I bought it already.
Wow.
It's on my iPad, ready to read.
There you go.
I'm excited.
Kill Team, I suppose, is now. It will be released like the day after this pod is being listened to by people.
Yeah. Sleeper Cell and Riot Control got released for Legion.
They announced when Halo's shipping.
When is it?
November.
Fuck.
What?
Now.
October.
Oh, Jesus.
Only a month.
Well, yeah, it's not too bad, I suppose. We can wait. Did you? We both got the Master Chief one.
Of course.
The only way.
Humble
to
brag.
I wanted that fucking Chief.
I mean, it was such a like, so obviously bait. Like,
I mean,
if you're a Halo fan and you're not getting the Master Chief box, like, what are you doing?
You've got a lot of shit in that. What was it, like 16 Spartans, Master Chief, 4 elites, all the terrain you needed, the rule book, like.
Are the miniatures different colour plastic?
Red and blue.
Yeah.
So you can use it as a board game
and
not necessarily have to paint them.
Yeah.
Which is nice.
I think that's probably a deliberate choice.
But yeah, it's definitely a deliberate choice because they know they're going to because it's no measuring, you can just play as a board game.
Okay, smart.
And they can then package every other team with a different coloured plastic, can't they?
Yes. It'd be very easy.
So I imagine that's what they'll do.
Yeah.
A lot of colours.
It's a good idea.
But I will be painting them.
Master Chief buying.
I can't wait to paint Master Chief.
Cool.
Fucking energy sword.
So by the time we hit November, what will have dropped by then? Will there be any MSG releases by then?
The film comes out December 12th or 13th.
Okay, so probably not.
So I can't imagine they will be allowed to release it before the film comes out.
And when's the new edition dropping?
Same time.
Ooh,
The new rulebook is the one that's packaged, isn't it? Like, so I imagine that it will be literally the final release before Christmas that Games Workshop squeeze in.
God, if they get it right, they could make a fucking killing. Like if the movie does well, printing cash.
I'm glad they did a movie and not a fucking TV series.
Oh, what? I fucking love a random shitty TV series that's badly paced and doesn't have enough content. No, I stopped midway through episode 3. It still paused on my Amazon Prime. I have, however, watched a review of episode 7, and the guy said it broke his spirit, and he's not going to be doing any more reviews.
I have a couple colleagues who persevered with hate watching, and they said it got worse after episode 3.
Apparently, they ruined the dwarf plotline, and the only remaining plotline which has any interest is the
Anatar?
Yeah, Anatar.
Yeah.
Like that's apparently literally the only good thing, and apparently,
this might get cut.
Yeah, it might get cut. And the fact that there's more fucking Hobbit, and you just know now that they've done Harfoots and the Stirs that we're going to meet the other. So season 3 Hobbits already confirmed, aren't they? Got to meet the other.
And they'll be like, Antarctic Hobbits.
The third bunch.
So we can have another
living
area.
Igloos.
4 Hobbit seasons combined.
The 4 Hobbit seasons, yeah.
You've got fucking wandering hobbits, desert hobbits, igloos. They'll be like the water hobbits,
air hobbits,
bog hobbits.
And then we'll tangent into the Avatar: The Last Airbender.
And then they all meet up and walk to the Shire, where they find the perfect balance of hot, cold bog. Oh, for fuck's sake.
And then the stranger will be there.
Smoking
a pipe.
The final stranger looking into the fucking camera and going, I've decided I'm not Gandalf. Fuck you.
I'm fucking Radagast and the bird shits on it.
Fucking blue wizards.
Have we discovered if they're Gandalf and Saruman or the Blue Wizards?
I haven't watched it.
We don't know.
From what I can tell, they're refusing to confirm either. Presumably so that they can do the voyage for as long as people having to decide.
They don't know. Good. Well, that'll do.
Meta.
I think some of that will have to be cut.
Yeah, probably most of it.
Yeah.
Thanks for listening.
Enjoy other Game October.
Oh, we've got to talk about Boba Fett.
What's happened with the world of
Should
Boba
we
Fett?
do a quick cold open for Boba Fett? You can just bung this at the
Sure.
start.
What's happened in Boba Fett?
What's happening in Boba Fett?
Yeah.
Well, let me tell you, Boba Fett dies. I don't know.
The movie, is he?
No, we talked about that last time, didn't we? I did the funny joke where I said news and I said, I said that.
A prototype Boba Fett toy from 1979, one of a kind. How much did you think it sold for?
£2,000.
$1.3 million.
No.
Referred to the holy grail of Star Wars toys.
Can we buy it for the channel?
Is this the one with a working
I don't know.
rocket?
Made for Kenner's Star Wars line, 1979, sold for a record-breaking 1.3 million. I've also started watching.
What's 1.3 million?
13,000.
If every one of our subscribers donated £13,000, we could buy that fucking Boba.
Or we could take that money.
We'd buy the Boba.
I've also started watching some fucking shitty Lego collecting videos on YouTube, and he found in a brick lot, he found a Boba Fett torso that was worth like $400.
The torso,
it's fucking insane.
Crikey.
Anyway,
he must have thought, the rest must be in here somewhere, and then just never found it.
Yeah, but it's like some parts that are extremely rare and get broken.
When are they going to release the Legion model of Boba Fett?
When they make mounted models, which is probably going to be never. Although they have confirmed Han and Luke on Tauntauns are coming.
Oh, there you go.
What do you mean? There you go.
Mounted models.
Well, yeah, but okay, I think it's a stretch from also going into Boba Fett on Rancor. Half the size of the board.
Han and Luke on Tauntauns is really actually.
Yeah, I think it might be a thing.
Yeah, shame it's attached to such a shit.
Yay! Yeah, that's because
it was fun.
And I was telling you what to do. Well, not as in what moves to do.
I
was explaining.
I was vaguely understanding.
Yeah. Cool.
I just sometimes don't understand what words mean.
What the keywords mean. Yeah.
So that's a problem in just general life.
Yeah.
So.
Barely literate. The amount of editing that has to go into the pod, honestly. Right.
I think that's it.
Like and subscribe.
Like and subscribe for more Book of Boba Fett content.
We will continue spreading misinformation about Boba Fett until we have no.
Oh dear. Say goodbyes, right? Goodbye from the man.
Goodbye.
It's goodbye from OT.
Right.
And it's goodbye from me, Onward.